Okay, if you can have a seat, then we can report out and get out very soon. A lot of excitement for that. I like it. High school group, start on time, leave early. There we go. So thanks for all your energetic work at the end of a long day. I appreciate that. Hopefully, minimally, you got to know some people from some other schools that you weren't aware existed before. So I hope that's our minimal expectation. But so we had 15 groups, and we're going to, I think, ask the person from each group who had the most interesting summer job to report out. So Karen's going to go around, and if you would just give us one. If you were a facilitator, if you could make sure we get your packet so we can put all this together. I don't know if I mentioned this, the middle school teachers are all meeting over at Novato High School. They're doing the same thing, coming up with the skills as well. And then we'll be doing that with our elementary teachers and other groups too. So with that, if you are going to report out, then raise your hand, give us your one or two additional skills, and we'll go from there.
Should we start with Group A or anyone? No, we'll just start with you.
Hi guys. Here. Oh my God, really?
Yeah, tell us your name.
This is so. Okay, hi, I'm Claudia. I'm at Novato High School, Spanish teacher. Hola a todos. Buenas tardes. Okay, and our additional skill we'd like to add is the skill of character. Would you like me to explain a little bit more? Sorry. Hi. I'm new at this. So character. Key elements include take criticism, life skills, resilience, humility, sense of self, personal health, advocate for oneself, and perseverance. Thank you.
Next. How does this work?
I'm Ben Philpott from Sam Wren. I teach PE and leadership. Our group came up with responsibility. Some skills, we had preparedness, time management, follow through, reliability, accountability, self-starting or ownership of their responsibility. That's it.
Hi, I'm Laura Taylor. I'm at Novato High School teaching science. Our group came up with we came up with resilience. We said the key elements were perseverance, not giving up, opportunities to fail and try again. That's it.
Hi, I'm Ari Gorman. I teach music at MSA, or Novato High School. We came up with character. The key elements we came up with were empathy, courage, honesty, being happy, soft skills, punctuality, perseverance, and integrity, as well as respect, self-esteem, and compromise.
I'm Elizabeth Bell, and I am the math teacher here at Marin Oaks. We came up with the integrated learning habits of mind, which are be metacognitive, make meaning, think flexible, think systematically, develop care, understand the disciplines, think critically, independently, be curious, open, resilient, inquire creatively, and work collaboratively. So our goal was to be an essential lifelong learner, doer, enabled by lifelong learning.
G'day guys, my name's Cass. I'm from Novato High School. I won't read this. Anyway, so the one that our group came up with is, the skill is hunter-gathering. It's exactly what you think it is, but with modern tools. So what that means is key elements: openness and curiosity, risk-taking, teamwork, tenacity, finding information, sorting information, comparing and contrasting, synthesizing, breaking through barriers, using different modalities and tools, some of which you've got to make yourself. Resourcefulness, creativity, and multiple processes, and you've got to practice and have someone teach you what to do.
Hello, I'm Josh from Novato High. I teach social studies, and we came up with the skill of mindfulness. Yeah, get it on the board. Mindfulness with key elements including introspection, reflection, self-awareness, self-analysis, so we can all focus on our breathing for the next 10 seconds and take a nature walk. Okay.
My name is Rich. I'm from Novato High School, special ed teacher. And do I really need this? Yes. Okay, for the microphone. My name is Rich. I'm a special ed teacher at Novato High School, and our team came up with executive skills or executive functioning. And the elements we came up with were time management, organization, goal setting, taking initiative, having tenacity, and resourcefulness. And anything else to know? That's it.
Hello, I am Tim from Novato High School, social studies teacher. The first skill that we felt that our graduates should definitely have by the time they're leaving, the first one is accountability, that big blanket term. Understanding that you alone are responsible for the outcome of your life. Maybe someone should have taught you that certain skill, but if you don't have it, ultimately it's up to you to learn it and achieve it. Maybe you were kind of left behind, but as you get to become an adult, it's still on you to achieve it. So I would love for my students to have that. Key elements of that accountability are following through, being on time, personal reflection, civic responsibility, which we thought was great. So many of us are quick to criticize the state of our town or state of our state, but what are we doing about it to help it? Be accountable for it if you have a critique. Global awareness, also accountability and respect. Second skill, well, it's actually a plethora of skills, but it really came from our excellent panel up there. All of those interpersonal skills that they said they wanted from their future employees. Good listening skills, having a filter, being able to make mature decisions and understanding. Hey, if I make this decision or if I say this comment, how is it going to affect me? And yeah, interpersonal skills. Let's define it real quick though. The ability to be an open-minded, caring, sincere person who can communicate with others, interaction with family, friends, community, school, and work. How we relate to each other.
Hi, I'm Michelle from Novato High Science. One of the skills that we hit upon was emotional intelligence, and we define that as self-awareness of yourself within the world, maturity, balance, and self-worth. And what this looks like is the integrity, or having integrity, not being afraid to make mistakes, demonstrating kindness without expecting anything in return, reading a situation and what is appropriate response to that situation, responding to your observation of a situation, and not letting others' opinions overwhelm your opinion of yourself.
Hi, I'm Denise from San Marin High School. I teach English and Avid. We came up with humility, and our key elements were be a lifelong learner. No, you don't know everything. Know where you came from. Remember who you are. Appreciate what you have, be empathetic. Okay. Accept mistakes from self and others. And we defined it as the wisdom of accepting the truth that you might just be wrong.
Hi, I'm Michelle from San Marin High School, teach science. We identified 2 skills, but one has to do with grit. The second one was to be a global citizen. So key elements would be to be open to new things, to have compassion, to have cultural knowledge, have a global view and an awareness of other people's global views and different views.
Hey, I'm Ethan Blankenship from Novato High, and we talked about character and creativity, which have both come up by other people's definitions. I'm not entirely sure they're skills, but they are certainly things that can be practiced. In the creativity box, we talked about making connections, following ideas through to the next step, boiling things down to make sort of to simplify rather than just having sort of random things out of left field, and that it's a process that involves willingness to take risk and work hard at following something through for a more extended duration.
Anybody else we missed? Una más?
Okay, we had hands-on, meaning performing tasks beyond reading and writing. We also said teaching students to be self-learners, and we defined that as learning to seek specific information and perform the task. And finally, we had quite a discussion on understanding cultural practice, ideas, and perspective. And that was defined by understanding behaviors, beliefs, values, symbols of other cultures and differences.
Anyone else? Anyone? All right. Well, thank you so much for your hard work. Thanks for sharing that out. I think one thing that's kind of come out is you guys definitely picked a lot of character traits, and sometimes it's not so easy to differentiate between what's a skill and what's a character trait. But it's also interesting to note that in your groups, we saw a lot of the 3 C's in play, right? So you had to collaborate. Hopefully you were critical thinking, you were communicating with each other. And there's a lot of work that we all need to do around that, because in a lot of the groups, just like with kids, some people are talking a lot more than other people are talking, and so we have to be mindful of all that as well. So it's complicated work, but I think it's really good work. And I guess what I would like to leave you with is that this is the work that we need to do. And I started off talking about the movie Beyond Measure, which is that you can't assess everything. And sometimes there's really important things that we want to teach that we can't assess. So having said that, at the district level, we are going to come up with those core skills that we can assess, that we expect all of us to do that. And that doesn't mean that each school might not have some other character traits. I mean, some schools have the, 6 character traits. You guys might have zest, other people have other ones. So that's fine for each school's a little different, and you guys might want to focus on that. And that's the beauty of some things are in common at the district, and then each of your schools has some different personalities. But we definitely want to come up with some that are in common and really work to define that, and then really expect you to teach that. Because I think, again, sometimes we think that we are teaching kids to collaborate, but maybe we haven't done as much work around that. So just real quickly, next steps are... we're going to get other people's input on this as well. So we will be meeting with our school site councils, we'll be meeting with our parents, we'll be having some student groups. I mentioned we still need to meet with our elementary teachers to get their input about what skills they think are most important. We formed a district advisory committee, which is going to review all the input from everybody. There's representatives, again, from teachers, parents, classified staff, administrators, school board members, on, and then, again, try to see if we can come up with that final list. Once we do that, which will be some version of the 4 C's or 3 C's plus and other things, then that's really the hard work. I mean, this is hard work to define what those skills exactly mean. But we don't actually have to reinvent the wheel on that either, right? Because there's a lot of districts that have been doing this for 10 or 15 years. So there are a lot of rubrics that are out there. We don't need to redefine a new rubric on critical thinking or creativity even. So we'll need to take a look at those. So together as teachers, we need to determine how we're going to teach those skills, determine how we're going to assess those skills, and then finally work with the schools to determine how to design those support structures and systems that will enable us to make sure that kids have those things. So again, I know you guys have been working on this together, but that's kind of our next step. So again, thanks for being here today. The last thing is if you could give us some feedback. You should have been sent an email from Julia Kemke that you have, and if you can, so that might be on your cell phone or back at work, if you could give us some feedback. So again, we know your time is valuable. We want to make sure that you feel that this is a worthwhile use of your time. And again, I would say this is one of the key efforts that we need to be working on this year that will provide some clarity and coherence to all that we're doing. So if you don't mind giving us some feedback either on your phone right now or at your school site, I totally appreciate that. And thanks for your time today, and we're out a little bit early. Thank you. So I am really excited to be with you all today for a couple reasons. One, I used to, some of you know, be an administrator at Hill Middle School, and this is where we talk to the students about discipline and behavior and all that good stuff. So I'm going to skip that with you guys today. But it's nice to be back at Hill. So Kessa, thanks for hosting us today. We appreciate that. Secondly, I think most of you know I was a high school teacher and at Tam High, and so my heart really is with a lot of high school teachers. You guys have a lot of challenges that some of our other teachers don't. Not that it's any harder, but I appreciate your being here. Third, I think it's the first time in a really long time that we've brought both of our high schools and Marin Oaks together. And there's a lot of work that we need to do that a lot of times we do it by ourselves and not with other teachers. So hopefully we're going to give you an opportunity to have some discussions and get to know each other a little bit better. And I think there's just some really important work to do on 21st century skills. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I know professional development time is important, and I really appreciate your taking the time to come over here. So last night I had an opportunity to see a screening of a movie called Beyond Measure. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. We also did one called Most Likely to Succeed that School Fuel also hosted. And those movies are, you know, there's kind of different reform movements that kind of go along. And right now the gist of both those movies was the lack of engagement in high school and the need to personalize learning, I think, more, which we all know. And they had a phrase in there that I thought was pretty good called, that they talked about a lot of the teachers and some of the over-testing, and they mentioned the Garfield teachers up in Washington that refused to give the MAP test, and looking at different ways of trying to help kids be creative, help to individualize education for students. And they used a phrase called politely subversive. And I really like that. I mean, I think high school teachers are subversive a little bit just by the nature of what we all do. And I don't want to be misquoted on that, because I don't want you to be subversive in the way that says like, well, hey, I'm not going to your staff meeting because I was told to be subversive. But I do mean subversive in terms of doing whatever it takes to make things work for kids. And unfortunately, a lot of our problems in education, I think, are the structures. It's not necessarily the teaching, it's the structures that we have, and the fact that our school system was set up to sort kids when it was first put in place, and that's really what it does. So hopefully we can work together to make sure that we are subversive, to make sure that learning really happens for kids. So that's how I kind of mean the politely subversive phrase. So real quick, I want to go to the board. We've been working with them. I had a retreat with them over the summer, and we've been working on some priorities. So there's 4 priorities. I just want to make sure you know what those are. The first one that should hopefully be, is no surprise, is equity. And equity doesn't mean equality. It means doing whatever it takes to, again, help our students be successful, and that might mean doing different things for different students. So that says every single student in our district will be provided with the necessary opportunity and assistance to grow academically each year, and to graduate from high school with the skills and knowledge that are needed to lead a fulfilling life. So we're doing a lot of work with the National Equity Project, and we're inviting a lot of you to attend some of their trainings. The first idea is that we need some self-awareness around equity. What does equity mean? We all have our biases and prejudices. How does that affect how we look at the world? There are structures and things that are put in place that are selecting kids that I think there's no coincidence that our achievement gap or our opportunity gap is difficult to close. And some of that is because of the structural inequalities that we built into the system. So none of us intentionally, you know, we all go into education, I think, to help kids, but sometimes there's some systems that are in place that make it harder for some kids to do well than others. So equity is a big focus. Student success, that's to make sure that our students are provided with learning experiences such as PBL, that are engaging, hands-on, relevant, and meaningful, especially at the secondary level, and that the district will clearly identify the most important knowledge and skills that all students need upon graduation, and also identify how these will be assessed. So that's really our work today. So today we're going to start talking a little bit more about what those skills are and about how to assess those. Third priority is staff support. That's really giving you all and the rest of our staff the tools and resources you need to be successful. And then the last one is community involvement and engagement, to make sure that our parents and our students and everybody in our community kind of knows what's going on in our schools and feels a part of it, and that we really go out of our way to reach out to them. And I think there's probably 2 key factions that we do not reach out to enough. One of them, I think, is our students. I think we don't ask our students a lot enough about what it is that they have in mind, what would they do differently, and they're sitting in our classes every day and have a lot to say about that. And the second is really our Spanish-speaking parents. A lot of our Spanish-speaking parents don't feel comfortable in our schools, and maybe they don't feel welcome. The language barrier a lot of times can be a big deal. So I think students and Spanish-speaking parents in particular are two specific groups that we need to reach out to. So during the summer, a lot of you weren't around, so I started on July 1st, and a lot of what I did was met with our community groups, and one of the neat things about Marin, as I've said, is the level of support we have from the Marin Community Foundation and Novato Youth Center and on, 10,000 Degrees. And then I did talk to a lot of teachers. I met with Aaron, I met with our classified and with the board, and it seemed like these three areas really came up that our district is really heading in the right direction. There was a need for more clarity, alignment, and coherence. So I want to talk about those a little bit. So clarity for me is really focusing on this question of what skills do we want our students and our graduates to possess when they leave. And I think that is really what's going to tie things together. So, you know, this is a time of dramatic change in education. A lot of you have been in education longer than I have, but in my last 25 years, over the last 5 years, I have never seen as much change, whether that was through the local control funding formula and the LCAP and how schools are being funded, with all the technology changes and what that implies for teaching, the Common Core standards, the Next Gen Science standards. I'm sure social studies are looking at their standards, and so the content is always going to be changing, but there is just, I would be overwhelmed, and sometimes I am overwhelmed. So I think we've got to do a good job of being crystal clear about what our most important priorities are, because we can't do everything. So if we can identify those skills and really focus on those, I think that will help us. Secondly is alignment. How do we design our curriculum, instruction, and assessment to ensure our students learn those skills? And then the third is coherence. How do we design our schools to ensure that these skills are learned? So that's a lot about the systems we put in place. So some of you guys have block schedules, some of you have advisories, some have flex periods and things like that. There's academies, so there's a lot of different structures and systems I think we can put in place that'll help make sure that our kids have what's needed. So going into a little more detail about skills and why those are important, we belong to a group called EdLeader 21, and it's a national group that helps out schools and districts to really focus on 21st century skills. So they showed this slide. It's kind of like old school and then today, so they got a kid sitting at a desk from a long time ago, and so I mean, the old model is really math, science, English, and social studies, the 3 R's or whatever, but that's really what we used to teach, right? It was all about the content. And I think all of us know now that in this day and age, the content is not enough. And I would say not only are skills equally as important as the content, I think they're more important than the content. And that doesn't mean we don't teach them anything and kids are running around sharing ignorance. It just means that getting to the content a lot of times is a little more accessible than it would be to get to the skills. So some of the things I think we're looking for now under Student B would be, we do want content mastery, but we also want people who are critical thinkers, problem solvers, effective communicators, effective collaborators. I mean, if they can't work together, then they're not going to be successful. Being creative and innovative, which I think is probably the comparative advantage that the United States has over other countries, is because we are more creative and innovative. Financially literate. I know that Novato High School just had a exercise where you put students through they have to choose different amounts of money that they have and they're assigned roles, and I think we don't probably do as good a job as we could helping our students to be financially literate. And then global competence or cultural competence, self-direction, but a lot of those skills I think are going to be just as, or if not more important than the content that we have, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So you all at your individual schools have been talking about this, I know not only this year, but also last year to some as well. So Marin, so I want to just kind of show you what you all have been doing. So here at Marin Oaks, have been looking at skills and also character traits. So they've come up with the 4 C's plus technology, including media literacy, and then they've said character traits are also important. So they've identified grit, optimism, zest. You have to define that for me in terms of zest, self-control, gratitude, social intelligence, and curiosity. So a lot of districts do add character as one of the 5 C's if they're going to add that in there. Some also do add content because they say that the content is important. San Marin, so they came up with the 4 C's, but also again came up with some digital literacy skills of information literacy, media literacy, information and communication technologies, and also some career and life skills, flexibility and adaptability, initiative and self-direction, social and cross-cultural interaction, productivity and accountability, and leadership and responsibility. And then finally, Novato High came up with the 4 C's plus character again, tenacity or perseverance, and then organization. So I know you've all been working on this and talking about that, and so our opportunity today is going to be twofold. One is going to be to hear from some of our local business leaders about what some of the skills are that they're looking for with their employees, and then we're going to give you some time to work in small groups to really prioritize the skills that we're looking for. I'll come back to that. So with that, I'd like to introduce Karen Maloney, and she's going to introduce our panel. So if you guys don't mind coming up here, we will get started and ask our business people for their perspectives on here locally what's most important to them.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. As Jim said, Karen Maloney, I'm Assistant Superintendent over business, operations, and many other things, and happy to be here. It's pretty exciting what's going on in education. And so we thought we'd start the day off talking to some business leaders before you move into your groups to identify the skills that are needed when our kids graduate. So we may have a third panelist coming in late, and that would be Pat Kendall from Kaiser. But right now we have 2 wonderful panelists, and on my left we have Tom Forster. He's the facility manager for Skywalker Ranch. So many of you know Skywalker Ranch, and that's Lucasfilms. And then also we have Pam Haessly, and she's our executive director for Novato Community TV. And so she does a lot of work with our students and in the community. And so with that, I'm going to ask them some questions, and we'll go from there. So first, the easy question. So if you can introduce yourself again and then explain a little bit what you do.
Hi, I'm Pam Haessly. I guess this is on. With Novato Community Television, I'm the executive director. I've been involved with Novato Community Television, which was formerly known as NPAT, Novato Public Access TV, for about 13, 14 years now. We have 3 stations, 26, 27, and 30. Public access is 26, education is 20, government is 27, and education is 30. So hopefully you have tuned in. If you have Comcast cable, you hopefully are familiar with those stations. We broadcast the school board meetings, the city council meetings, and we also teach you how to produce your own TV show. We have interns come into the studio to educate them on media, and overall just have fun there.
Tom Forster. I spent most of my career with Lucasfilm. I've been with the Lucas companies for 32 years. The last few years have been with Skywalker Properties. Lucasfilm was sold in 2012 to Disney. They are still one of our biggest tenants in Marin County and in San Francisco. But the Skywalker Properties company is still owned by George. It's a pretty small group, and we're basically the landlord. He kept all the property in Marin and San Francisco and Singapore and a few other countries that we own. So we basically operate that, and it includes everything from lodging to post-production facilities to office complexes and other miscellaneous real estate functions, including viticulture and organic gardening and so on. Most of my time I was the ranch manager, and that I would describe as a jack of all trades, master of none. Kind of like being a small town manager. I was there from the early days as we developed and built Skywalker Ranch and then expanded to Big Rock Ranch to the east. And we're currently working on a workforce housing and senior housing development to the east at our Grady Ranch property, where we were going to do a digital production facility, but withdrew that a few years ago. So we're now focused on housing Also very involved in the fire service. I have 40 years in the California Fire Service in volunteer and career roles, developed the fire department at Skywalker Ranch, and am currently still a volunteer fire chief. Question was, do we have any student internships? We did historically in Lucasfilm have a pretty robust internship program. I'm not sure what Disney is doing right now. The Skywalker Properties Company, we're less than 100 people. It includes the nonprofit George Lucas Educational Foundation that's based at Big Rock. And we don't currently have a well-organized internship program, but I believe that will come at some point in the future. We're still getting used to all the changes and the dust settling after the big sale to Disney.
Well, thank you. So if each of you could then identify 2 to 3 most important skills that your employees need to have to be successful, and tell us why these are important and how employees use them in your field in particular. So 2 to 3 skills, and why is that so important?
Really? Only 3? I have a whole page of them. I had to think about this quite a bit, but I think overall, reliability is essential, because I can teach you a lot of things, or you come to me with a lot of skills, but I can't teach you, tell you, or make you be reliable. So I have to know when I get up in the morning that if there is a video shoot that day or a meeting that needs to air, I know someone's on it, and I have faith that that's going to take place. So that's huge to me. Communication is, well, obviously we're in the communication business, but even internally, just communicating amongst each other, saying, I'm going to be late, or hey, can you help me out with this? Or I don't understand this production, that type of thing. Communicating amongst each other is also essential. I think that's almost up there with reliability, and that's almost, they're almost parallel. And then I guess probably follow through would be the next thing, because for instance, we're videotaping today, and then if you don't ever hear from us again, then what good are we? You know, what are we delivering? So following up, following through, I think gives us a whole lot of credibility.
You can add more. You're good? Is there one in particular that you want to add beyond the 3?
Oh, there's 2. There really is a lot. I think willing to learn and initiative, and they're kind of similar as well. I want somebody that comes in and says, what do you need me to do today? Or can I help you? Initiative is really important to me personally, but showing drive and showing interest and wanting to be there. If you don't have that, there's only so much I can do to motivate you or keep you interested, and chances are you won't be around long. So if you can come to me with some initiative and drive, that'll make me happy, and the whole staff will be happy, and you know, we'll just be more productive as well.
Most of my education up through my bachelor's degree was technical, and as I got into the workforce in the 1980s, I realized that most of the skills I needed to succeed on my job were not so much the technical. The technical I could do, I could research, I could fix things, but the human skills was where I needed help, and I ended up doing my master's degree in organizational development and HR at USF. So when I today look to people, and it's been this way for over 20 years, when I've hired people, I'm looking really for, on balance, are they a optimistic person? Are they positive? Or are they more the glass is half empty and leaking type of person? In all the people I've worked with over the years, and I've seen this throughout our organization, the people often get hired for their technical skills, and they're fired if they get to that point. Most don't, thankfully, but those that get fired are fired for human problems. And it's the unresolved conflicts, the inability to work with others, the issues with their coworkers or with the public and your clients that really trip them up. So when I think of kids today, I'm thinking about three of the qualities that I saw on the wall out there from this school, identifying the first would be optimism, and the second would be gratitude, and the third would be social intelligence. I'm a big fan of the work around emotional intelligence in the workplace, and you can find a lot of information on that through our edutopia.org website that the George Lucas Educational Foundation runs. So when I, again, think of skills, I'm looking at somebody, if they're missing anything technically, I can train that. I cannot fix their unhappiness. So I'm not a shrink as an employer, and maybe that can be fixed through counseling, etc. But if they're a negative person, I don't want them around.
All right, so there's a couple themes that these two employers had, and one of them certainly was communication. And so, and then the human aspects of it, being positive, also reliable, some of those type of things. Also, you talked about collaboration and how employees have to work together, be it working internally or externally with clients, and collaborate. That's a real important thing. So those are the positive aspects. Sometimes we forget to ask what are some of the negative or the things that, in a better way to say it, what skills, so looking at skills, not necessarily the traits that each of us carry, but what skills are many employees lacking or need support as they enter your field, and how would you support development of these skills? And also with this audience of teachers, as they're listening to you, they're saying, well, how can I help students learn that skill, so when they do come to you as an employee, how can I help develop that? So maybe if you can look at it in that context. But what are what skills are your employees lacking?
Well, I have to be careful here because I have two of them here. What are they lacking? I have an awesome staff, so I haven't thought of it too much in terms of what they're lacking. But I would say probably what's very important for future employees is problem solving. And it isn't limited to just technical things, as you were saying. It's all kinds of things happen with interpersonal relations, and how do I address this, or how do I solve it, or should I involve my boss, or so just depending on the situation, problem solving. And that's something, again, we can't really teach, but we could probably learn based on incidents, and I can help, guide them so they can make better decisions as they develop and work longer here at the studio. The second thing I think would be patience, because nowadays this is a very quick world, and not everything is so quick, especially in the studio when you have to log tape or capture tape, or if something doesn't work and you have to do it over again. You can't get mad, you can't give up. I think I saw tenacity somewhere. You just really have to have that patience, and how you teach that, I don't know. That's why you're the teacher, but I just have to remind people when I interview them, and I shape my questions so that I can tell if they're someone that's going to fit in the studio, or if it's not the right fit for them based on that. I don't know if I elaborated enough, but okay.
In my world, which is operations and facilities, and then the fire service, it's stunning to us with young kids today how many of them lack the hands-on skills, and that can be as basic as how to use a screwdriver, how to use a hammer. And I'm not kidding. It's amazing how comfortable most are with technology, but fixing something, changing a tire, using a chainsaw, again, a hammer, it's sad that that's been lost for many of these kids over the years. We can train that, of course, but it's a whole new world. And I know fire departments, for example, that have developed entire lesson plans and curriculum around how to use a screwdriver and how to do the basic skills that you'd need to use to, say, get somebody out of a car wreck. And that is just our reality, I guess, as a society. But that's the number one thing that sticks out for us.
Thank you. So it sounds again that certainly the things that have been listed by staff that you've already had discussions around, so both the critical thinking and so for the schools that we're doing is a lot of that through our project-based learning and helping enhance or with the students able to learn some of those skills around critical thinking, some of the hands-on, but certainly that is an aspect as you go out into the workforce. So to finish it up, that is there any other message you have for teachers on how we can prepare our students to enter the workplace?
I think teaching kids to be on time and the importance of that. Again, that goes back to being, okay, maybe we should scratch that, I don't know. It's a lifelong lesson for some of us, but it's just so important. I mean, you have to be here today at a certain time for this thing to be successful. Just being on time is just, again, something that you live with for all throughout your life. I don't know how you would go about teaching that, but and I guess another message is that I would love for all of you to, and this is not a self-promotion necessarily, but I would love for you to just come to the station, which is located inside the Novato Unified School District, and see what we have to offer. We have so many resources available to you, to the students. We do have internships. It's a developing program, but we've gotten excellent students that I would love to hire. Unfortunately, they go on, but fortunately for them, they have that dream and desire to go on. And I think it seems like since the interns that I've had, it seems like there's a diminishing interest in going on to higher education. And I think maybe that's just me, maybe it's just a few people that I've encountered, but I think that's sad. And I'm a huge advocate of extended education, lifelong learning, and I would actually require a bachelor's degree for higher level positions in my station. So I really just want to invite you to come by, schedule a tour, and let's talk and see how we can collaborate and help you.
I first want to thank all of you for what you do. Two of the professions I have the most respect for are teaching and nursing. And I'm good friends with Pat Kendall, who couldn't make it today, but she's a nurse. And I have a world of respect for your profession and hers, what you do and the complexities you deal with all the increased diversity and rules and regulations is stunning. And I give you 3 cheers for facing that with a positive attitude. I guess the main skill that I really encourage you to help students with is to have some goals. And I don't say that lightly. We often ask kids in interviews, what are your career goals? Where are you heading? What do you want to do? And some of them are pretty good at responding to that, and others kind of give us the blank stare, deer in the headlights look of what does that mean? And it's almost as if they're looking to another person to really define that for them. So I think whatever you can do to help them realize it's really a wide open field, and through setting some goals they can accomplish amazing things. And I'm going to guess most of you are already doing that. So again, I thank you for everything that you do.
I just want to piggyback on what he said, and I thank you for what you do too, because I couldn't do it. But two things. I think the 4 C's and everything that was listed up here was right on point. I don't know how I may have added to that, what you're already doing. But now I just lost my train of thought. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry, just lost my train of thought.
When it comes back, then it'll come back. So anyway, the work before you is daunting, and that, you know, the work is hard and we appreciate it. And it's really exciting right now what our district is doing in defining these skills along with the content. So I want to thank our panelists that they do a lot of work for our community. They work with a lot of our students and very appreciative of that. And also, before I break you up into groups, I want to thank Megan back there. She's just tremendous in so many ways, but certainly helping us today. And then also, Kessa, thank you for opening your site. Love to have people out here. Isn't it nice? And so now we're going to break up into groups. And so on your name tag, so you'll see on there a letter and a room. I mean, that there's teachers amongst you that will lead you to the room. So the 2 tasks that we're going to ask you to do, so don't leave yet. So 2 tasks. So the first task that your group will be doing, and you've got the notes there, is to define the key elements of the 3 C's, so critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. So as Jim said earlier, we're starting with the 3 C's. Many of you at your different sites have already defined some additional ones. The thing that we're asking that we need to find beyond the 3 C's, that you've got to be able to teach it, but we also have to be able to assess it. The work today isn't around defining what that assessment's going to look like, but as you think about it, think about how you might be asked to assess it down the road. So creativity is very important. I come from the business world and finance. My sister's an artist. She's very creative, but in my world, I get to be creative too. But I don't know how you always assess it. So looking at that, just keep in mind as you're doing this work, how might you assess it? And then the second task is, what is 1 or 2 other skills that we should add to our list? So looking at the key elements, and so when we talk about key elements, and the teacher leaders will help you with this. So 1 would be like around communication, ability to research and develop a lab report. So that would be a key element of communication. And then the next piece is an additional skill to go with those 3 C's. So the folks that have the envelopes, you know where you're headed, and you should have that all on your name tag. So we'll see you back in the room to report out.